Hi, ladies. Welcome. Jaki Sabourin here, and today we're going to talk about building a trusting relationship. And I've got my YouTube ladies here. Welcome, ladies. And I've got Facebook over here. And I am working on figuring out the platform that allows me to broadcast simultaneously across all the social media channels, but I haven't had an opportunity to work on that yet. But that's on my list for things to do next year, so I won't be going back and forth. So just give me a couple more months. I'm going to have that sorted out. Also, some new improvements to my channel. I love that everybody's asking me about wardrobe and fashion and makeup, and I'm actually not, I'm not an expert in any of those areas, but however, since you're asking and you feel that that would be beneficial and helpful, I'm going to start to, whatever I'm wearing on the broadcast, I thought would be something that would be appropriate for a date. Now, this may not be your style, etc., and we may be different age, but here's a rule of thumb I want you to follow when it comes to aging and clothing. So I remember my mother asking me once, she said, I'm too young to dress old and I'm too old to dress young. And I'm like, go young, Mom, go young. And I think she was about my age when she asked me that. And so I'm 55 and I'm thinking that there is no, back in the 50s, women dressed different and you're expected to dress different than your teenage daughter. And I'm not saying we should dress like teenagers at all. However, I don't feel that there's any need that we need to start dialing it back. That's when we become invisible. So I encourage you to continue to dress the way you love to dress, the way you feel beautiful in your clothes and you feel a little hip. So it doesn't mean trendy hip, because I'm not really big on trends. I like the classics, but I do buy a couple trendy things. And so, for example, this yellow, I thought this yellow was so pretty this year. I love canary yellow. So I was really excited about finding a pair of yellow jeans and a yellow top. So now that we're moving into the fall, hi ladies, I'm pairing this yellow camisole with black, and I have it on with a black pair of denim jeans and then black shoes, and I'm going to show you what else I have to go with it. So, but before I get into that, let's talk about the topic, that I wanted to talk to you about is creating a trusting relationship. And then if I have time at the end, I'll show you a couple things that I have here for you. But I want you to know that I'm going to get better at delivering the fashion tips, the clothing, and the date night outfits. Okay, so I'm starting to really think that through and how I can present that in a way that's organized for you. And so let's see. Hi, ladies. Let's see, this channel is amazing. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for being here. So relationships are built on trust. You probably heard that saying, trust is gained in inches and lost in miles. Write that down. And it's true. Trust is incrementally gained. And then one thing that can happen could lead to blowing all that trust right out the door. And so, especially if you've been hurt before, somebody does something, it's really quick to lose trust for somebody based on your history. So you want to, when you're building a relationship, you want to remember that trust, being able to be a trustworthy person really has to do with personal credibility. So I wasn't always trustworthy. I'm going to just be honest. I didn't have personal credibility. I had to learn to become personally credible because I didn't know what that meant. So I have made mistakes in my life. I have betrayed. I have lied. And I'm human. I made those mistakes to learn from them in order to suffer the consequences of how that felt, which it didn't feel good. So that I could get some personal integrity, so I can grow an emotional backbone. And so some people come in and they've got that piece figured out, and some people need to figure it out like I did. So there's nothing wrong with any of us. We all just have various missing pieces of our development. Remember that. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with me. So our job as adults is to go back in and fill in the blanks, fill in the missing pieces of our development. It might be different for you than it was for me. So when I talk about this personal credibility, in order to build a trusting relationship, it starts with me. It starts with you. You have to be able to trust yourself that you're going to keep your word to yourself. So if you, because it starts there, it's a personal credibility. If you aren't able to keep your word to yourself, like I'm going to get up tomorrow at 6 and work out, but you don't, or I'm going to whatever your goal is. I'm not going to spend any money on clothes this month, and you do. You're not really keeping your word to yourself, right? So it's really even harder to keep your word to the man you're dating, because you haven't created enough self-discipline for a variety of reasons from your history in order to do that. So start to work on not making promises to yourself that you can't keep. And that's the first part of personal credibility, is keeping your word to yourself. If you know that you're not going to work out, don't tell yourself you're going to work out. Just say, I'm not working out. You know how we have those little thought processes that can go sideways. So give yourself a break and cut yourself some slack, and don't put so much pressure on yourself, because when you don't do what you say you're going to do internally, it hurts you. You break your word to yourself, and you're not having a trusting relationship with yourself. So let's fast forward to this with a man. Communication is the most important part of trust, because if we don't communicate whether our feelings are hurt or we're upset or a need that we have or something that happened that we need to bring to our partner's attention, how can we build trust when there's no communication? So obviously, trust is a fundamental piece of every relationship, and then communication continues to build the trust. So trust is built incrementally. It's built in little teeny steps, right? Just like I said. And to build trust incrementally, you want to be consistent. That's why I always talk about the 3 C's with the man. When the man is showing you the 3 C's: commitment, caring, and consistency. There we go. Then you know that he's into you, and he's pursuing you. He's following you. He's being consistent in showing up, texting you, contacting you, making dates. He's caring, asking you about, your children or your dog or your mom, whatever was going on that you shared with him. He remembers, and he's asking you about those things. That's caring. And consistent, caring, and what was the other one I said? I already forgot. So anyways, I'll come back to it when I remember. 3 C's: commitment, caring, consistency. Commitment, there we go. So the commitment piece comes in when you see he's being consistent and he's caring. That means he's starting to build a commitment. The commitment level is raising, and that's because there's some trusting behavior that's happening. You're showing up how how you presented yourself. You're being consistent in your behavior. That's another way to build trust in a relationship. And saying what you mean is a really important part of building trust. So sometimes we get flustered, or we get shy, or we get nervous, and we don't say what we mean. We kind of beat around the bush, or we come in indirectly and a little passive aggressive because maybe we're feeling nervous about speaking our truth or saying what we like or don't like. And but when we don't say what we mean, men get really flustered with that. They're like, just spit it out. Have you ever heard a guy say, just spit it out to you? My ex-husband used to say that to me, just spit it out. And I'd be like, I wish I could. And so I didn't trust myself, going back to that personal credibility, to feel safe enough to tell the truth, to say what I mean. And so when I don't say what I mean to Michael, he's like, can you give me concrete details? Men want concrete details. So if you're talking to him about something that's important, make sure that you have concrete details to give him. For example, you can say, for example, when we were out last night, you were a little short with the waiter. I'm just wondering if everything's okay. So that would be a concrete example. You always want to come into a conversation with the man with concrete examples, because he's going to ask you, can you give me an example? And if you don't have them, he's going to start to, I guess, lose respect for you a little, because you're bringing something up that's bothered you, but you don't have anything concrete for him to understand why. And so he starts to feel under attack, and you don't want that. And so, another thing is that you want to do when you're building trust in a relationship is give each other the benefit of the doubt. So he doesn't call you, and he said he was. The next day you're just freaking out. It's like, then he calls and says, I fell asleep. Give him the benefit of the doubt, at least once or twice, unless you start to really prove that he's lying. People do fall asleep. Sometimes they get times mixed up. I mean, we're humans. We make mistakes. But when we're so attached to a man, we're so focused on that, and the relationship's unfolding, it's easy for us to quickly make an assumption that he's with somebody else, or he's leading us on, or he's not really that into us. And maybe just something's going on at work. He got called in. He's pulling a double. He didn't have time to text you. He left his phone on the table. Last night we went out and I left my phone at home. And, how often do you do that? Not very often, but I did it. And I was like, oh, well, we went out to a nice dinner and I left my phone at home. I wanted to take pictures. So it happens. So give each other the benefit of the doubt. So vulnerability is another part of building trust, being vulnerable. But I want you to be vulnerable. It's gradually. So as he's opening up and being vulnerable, then you're opening up and being vulnerable. And why you do that, it's because it's a boundary rule of thumb. You're not exposing yourself to being hurt by sharing everything at once. So it's gradual. So you share a little bit, and you about your family maybe, or your history, and then he might share a little bit, and they're like, see how that's received, see where it lands. No reason to share about things that happened 30 years ago, unless you're you're married, or you're you're engaged, or you definitely have planned, you're in a committed, a strong relationship. Because here's the thing, it's not relevant to who you are today. We've all made choices and learned from them. Maybe they didn't turn out the way we'd hoped, maybe they weren't the right choice, but you learned from them. Don't tell things from your past that haven't gone as well, because sometimes people hold you to those things, and you don't need to. If it's not relevant to now, if you had a foreclosure 20 years ago, why would you tell somebody now? It's like, it's over. It's in the past. So don't bring the past forward and think that you need to come clean and tell your boyfriend all this stuff when he's like, what does that have to do with us? Plus, he's going to think about it and be like, he's going to be worried about that. So temper, like the truth with, is it relevant to the relationship? Is it relevant to who I am today? And if it's not, it's over, and leave it in the past. It's not a secret. It just doesn't, it's not that it's a secret. It doesn't exist anymore. It's really over. The past doesn't exist. So why bring it forward? And so use your best judgment on that. Of course, I'm not saying lie or hide things, but I think you understand what I mean. And I'm going to take some questions. So emotional intimacy is the last piece I want to share with this. So emotional intimacy, into me, I see, is all about allowing a man to see what's going on with you. So again, going back to being vulnerable. But if you really want to feel safe in that vulnerability, you need to be intimate with yourself. When you know all of those things that could upset you, your triggers, the things that have hurt you in the past, they're less likely to cause an explosion. That's why intimacy needs to start with you first. Into me, I see. Intimacy means that I'm not afraid to look deep within to see if I've had some less than perfect behavior without criticizing myself. That's what true intimacy is that you're not afraid to look deep within your own behavior, to reflect, to see if your behavior served you or didn't serve you, without being critical to yourself. So you're objectively looking at your choices going, if I had a do-over, I'm not going to make that choice again. But you're not beating yourself up. So that's loving, accepting intimacy. So when you have that level of intimacy and you share something, you don't come from a place of like being really upset. You come from a place like, yeah, it happened. And so that comes from a deep level of acceptance. Yes, I did that. But you're not charged around it because you accept yourself. You know that it happened. You've made peace with it. So you can now share it because there's no charge. So I hope that makes sense to all of you. And so I think that covers it with how to create a trusting relationship. Of course, there's so much more, but let me check the questions in the box. And if we have time, I'll share a little bit of the things that I pulled out for you. So over here on Facebook, I have a cruise planned with a platonic friend in January. I have just met a great guy, and we are starting out as friends. I'm going to just open it up so I can see more because, darn it, I can't see any more of that question. Shoot. Oh, wait, there it goes. When do I ever bring up the cruise? Okay, great question. So she's going on a cruise in January with a platonic friend. She just started to date somebody, and she wants to know when to bring up the cruise. So why don't you see how it goes with the guy that you're dating, since you just met a great guy, just met him. I wouldn't even mention it, because what if it doesn't work out? So just wait and see how it unfolds. And you made the plans before you met him, so it's not like you're doing anything inappropriate. However, for the level of your relationship, you don't owe him an explanation. You're not his girlfriend, and you're an adult, so you don't have to answer to him. Now, if something unfolds and you guys start getting close and you become exclusive, you say, of course, you know how I'm going to say it. Oh, that's so wonderful. Tell me more about that. And that's that whole getting exclusive conversation. But you'd also say, if you're happy about it, oh, that means the world to me. I would love to. What does that look like? Like, what are the logistics and the mechanics? How often are we going to see each other? You want to have that part of the conversation. But you say, so I want to share something with you. And then that's when you would share it. Before we met, I have a friend, David, who, I've known since work or whatever. And we were both single. We're not dating. We haven't dated, but we had booked a cruise as platonic friends because I really wanted to go on this cruise and he did too. So we decided to buddy up. So use the word buddy, takes it down a notch. So I have a buddy. It's not with benefits. And so how do you feel about that? So at that point, he might want to go. Maybe you might want to consider inviting him. Maybe you might want to end up canceling. I mean, see how it goes with the guy you're dating. If I was dating a man, and so this isn't about pretzeling, but if I was dating Michael and things are really heating up and I really wanted to be with him and he asked me to be exclusive, we were hanging out, I know me. See, I'm in it to win it. I'm playing big. So I would probably say, I have this cruise plan, but I'm feeling so much different about it now that I've met you. I would talk to my buddy, see if he wants to find a friend to buy me out, and I'd probably not go. Because me being on that cruise without Michael would make Michael feel very uncomfortable. And if Michael's the most important person in my life, I would probably choose Michael. And so that's just a personal choice. It doesn't mean that I'm pressing. I'm actually would rather be with him. Things change. So now, I got to get with my buddy. And if he's really your friend, he'll understand. If you go on the cruise and your boyfriend doesn't like it, you might come home to a breakup. So it's just, that's what happens in life. And I hope that helps you. Let me see. One more question here. Hi, Brenda. Oh, I want to go deeper in my connection with my relationship. It feels awkward for me. What's the script to start sharing? And I'm leaning forward to press the see more button on Facebook. Kind of get it just right to show me more of that question. Darn it. There we go. She says that it feels awkward to me. What's the script to start sharing more of my heart with him? Well, here's the thing about sharing more of your heart with him. If he's not sharing more of his heart, it's not really safe for you to do so, because if he's not opening to you, then I wouldn't be opening more to him, because again, it's imbalanced, right? And so what you could do is what you want to do is see if you can get him to open more to you instead of the other way around, because that's pursuing. So how you can get a man to open more to you is create a safe place where a man trusts you. You have to build trust. So here's the thing, ladies, if you have an upset where you kind of blow up, and we all have these, so don't beat yourself up. But if something happens and you don't react in a calm manner, you're kind of losing that incremental trust, right? You just lost a little bit of that trust. So if there's been a series of upsets where you've lost your cool or said things you regret or whatever, you're going to have to create a safe space again for your man to feel safe enough to open up and show you his heart. And now, and so that's maybe what you'll work on, is making sure that your behavior is so consistent and so congruent that he starts to feel so safe with you that when you ask him, tell me a story about your childhood. I'd love to hear about, what was it like for you in second grade? What kind of kid were you? See if you can get him to open up about his history, about his relationship with parents, his siblings, anything that might give you an opportunity to say things like validate him. Wow, that must have been really hard for you. Wow, I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing that with me. So he'll start to feel safe and they'll start to open up. When he starts to open up, then you can start to open up and take that relationship deeper. But men are very reluctant to open up if they feel like they're going to get scolded. So build trust and then get him to open up. And then you can start opening up more and more. I hope that helps, Brenda. Okay, it's 3:18. Whoa, time flies. We're having fun. Oh my gosh, how'd this happen? I'm going to take a couple questions from YouTube. Okay, so good comment. I like this. She said, very sexy look. I try to be a little more modest until I know I can trust the guy. And I'm so glad that you were all really able to be honest and open, and it's safe for you to do that with me. So you're right. This is a little bit more skin showing, right? Absolutely. So I live in California and it's like 78 degrees out right now. So it's still summer here. And I'm really comfortable with like this neckline. I don't feel like I'm revealing too much. However, when I lean forward, I know there's a little cleavage, but I think this is an okay date night camisole. But if you are a little more conservative, then absolutely follow what you feels best for you. Like I said, I live in a warm climate. I lived in Hawaii for 20 years. I got really used to showing more skin. And so now that I'm older, I don't show a lot more, but I'm okay with this much. And I think men love skin. Skin is in. You've heard me say that. So make sure that you're revealing something. Now, as it's getting colder, I want to share with you what I've got here is a couple different, what I would do is pair this, like since it's getting cooler in the colder climates and it's even snowing. This is the long black sweater. So I would actually pair that. See how it just made it more conservative? And it's a really long trim sweater. It has no buttons and it goes kind of down to my knees with a pair of skinny jeans. And I would wear this with like two for a date. I definitely would show up with this because then I can opt to take it off or I could keep it on, depending on how comfortable I felt. So I really love this sweater. This is actually what I consider a staple. And you can find, I got this at Nicole Miller, but this is a mini rose. But I think this is one of my favorite sweaters I've ever had because it kind of covers everything but leaves the front open. So when it gets colder, this won't work, but it's good fall sweater for now. I also have, I love black jacket. So your little black jacket. So basically I have three here I want to show you. I have a black blazer. The thing about the black blazer that doesn't make it look businessy is that it's tailored. So I'm okay with these blazers as long as they're tailored. The sleeves are a little shorter and it's real fitted. So I like that. It's not too businessy, especially with a lacy camisole, right? Now, little black jacket, two types of leather jackets. One's more playful. This is kind of like a sporty. It's a little short one, and it's got little poofy shoulders. I really like this. This is a Bebe. I got it right offline. I think it was $99. So I really love this. It's pleather, by the way. It's not even leather. Most of my jackets are pleather. And then this is a dressier jacket. I really like this. It actually has a zipper that comes across, and you can see how it does that. And the back's really nice. It's got a little bit of a kind of a longer back to it. I really like this. This is definitely a dressy jacket. So this is what I would wear on a date. And this time of year, I would wear a peekaboo toe because it's not quite cold enough to wear a boot. So if you have boots from last year, I don't know if ladies, if you have this, this is a suede brush. You can just get one on Amazon or at the drugstore. And basically you just take it. If you don't know this, just brush your suede boots and you can clean them up with this little brush and voila, they look brand new. And I just have it in my closet where my shoes are, and I just brush my shoes. So these are 3 years old, and I love them, and there's no reason for me to replace them. I just love these little boots. They have a little bit of a lace detail right there. And so I'm wearing these with this outfit, and then when winter comes, I'll throw on a pair of boots. But I'm going to wear this yellow through the winter. And I'm going to show you a couple of their camisoles, then I'll answer a couple more questions. Camisoles are really big right now, and I really love the camisoles. So, and you could wear a black some kind of sport bra with this. You don't have to, show too much skin. So you could wear some kind of black undergarment. But this is a real pretty one because it's lacy. And I think these are so pretty. Seeing a lot of that lace right now. And then I love this color, ladies. Look at this pumpkin. I really recommend you picking out something in silk. That's very sexy. I think silk is a real pretty feminine thing. So see, and then this was a Ted Baker top that I wore a couple weeks ago. And I think that's really pretty and fun. So pick yourself up a couple camisoles, get your suede boots out, clean them up. You don't need to buy new ones, and go through your jackets and see if you have, the jackets to wear over your layers to ease into fall, or maybe you're already rushing into fall right now. As far as jewelry goes, depends on where you're going and who you're with. Like if I was going to meet Michael for the first time, I probably wouldn't wear this ring. I'll tell you why. This ring is very trendy and it's fun for the videos, but I wouldn't wear the ring because I knew I was looking for a somewhat conservative man. So this is a little too trendy for my taste for a first date. So I would have left that ring off and just worn a simple necklace and a watch and maybe no rings. I like to keep it simple on my first dates. And then depending on where we're going and looking at how my man is, then I kind of modify based on what, where he's at. He might be wearing a suit, a sport jacket. I like men that dress up. So I would temper what I'm wearing depending on who I'm sitting across from. Of course, you don't always have the opportunity to know that. We have to find that on our first date. Let me ask a couple questions. Answer a couple questions, not ask. I'm a higher wage earner and CEO of my business. Way to go, girlfriend. I want to be the girl at home, but have trouble submitting as I've always been in charge. How do I let go and trust my man to lead? So let's try the word surrendering. So, Yeah, surrendering is really hard when you've always been in charge. And being in charge is all about control. And you feel safe. Face it, when we're in charge, we're in control and we feel safer. But if we want to invite a man into our life and allow him to be in that role, in the masculine energy, then we need to learn to be in our feminine energy. So what you can do is just start with just bringing more awareness to the transition from work to home. And maybe it comes with putting something in your car that's soft, like a soft pink sweater or something that would signal you to step into your feminine energy more. Sometimes I use material things to ease into it. And then I can, like when I come home from work, if I'm not wearing something as feminine, I always like to dress up for Michael. And it doesn't mean I get all dressed up before he comes home, but if I just wear sweat, sometimes I just wear workout clothes to work. I will come home and I might change into a flowy dress or something before he gets here. And what that helps me do is it just drops me into my feminine energy. And it also allows him to see me in a more feminine way instead of in my workout clothes. So I would just look at the transition you're making from work to home, or work to your date, or work to the phone conversation, where you maybe put some perfume on, maybe you put some lipstick, something that will pull you into that space, to that mental space where you consciously go, okay, I need to take a deep breath, let go of control, and just sit back and let him do his thing. And the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And sometimes I have slip-ups. I mean, the other day I was trying to tell Michael where to park. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't need to tell you where to park. I think you got this. But then we have this funny conversation in the car because I'm like, I can't believe I just said that. So one day at a time. You're doing great. Just bring more awareness to your breath, to your body. See if you can come up with a couple key pieces that would signal you to slow down. Maybe you even get a feather. I'm telling you, this feather, the visual of this feather always reminds me. I have one in my room, one in my office. And so maybe you have this feather and you get it and you put it someplace where it reminds you to use your feather, because men respond so well to that softness. And he will just love to sink into that with you. And he doesn't want two men in the room, right? When we're showing up as our CEO power energy, it's almost like we're still competing, even though we don't mean to be. Take that hat off and lean back and allow him to lead. Okay, let me answer a couple more questions. Where did you get that one? This top here that I'm wearing, I will drop in the name of the tops that I showed you and the designer or the label. This isn't really a designer top, it's just a top, and where I got it. And then a lot of the things I get at Ted Baker, Nicole Miller. There's a shop here in La Jolla called Love and Amore. I think it's called Amore. So what I'm going to do is I've reached out to the women that own shops in Southern California that I shop at, and I'm going to be putting together a video for you based on all these different date night using their clothes. So I can really show you some more fall clothes, because I don't really have a big fall wardrobe because I live in California. So I'm going to be putting that together for you. I've already reached out to them, so just give me a couple weeks. Last week you had on an orange camisole. Where did you get it and what brand? So that's this orange camisole right here. Like I said, I'm going to drop it into the comment box, but I can tell you this is Vince, called Vince. And I think I got it in a shop. Nordstrom's carries Vince. You can go online and get it. Vince, and this is an extra small. So I love that. I love that top. I've already worn it twice. So pretty. Okay, one more question. I had last time when you were live, but I missed it. Okay, I have a question. Okay, Tess, what is it? Tess has a question. Tess has a question. Got it. Got it. So let me look for your question. Let me keep looking. Thank you for your patience, ladies. So I searched for Tessa's question. Okay, my boyfriend has been with me for 4 years. He wanted to get married 2 years ago. I wasn't ready. Now I am. And he says he needs more time. Here's what I would ask him. What do you need more time for? This is when you have to be really direct, and not with a feather, but then you would say, okay, sweetheart, tell me about that. Tell me about that. What do you need more time for? And just to ask him to get really curious about why he needs more time. I think that when somebody says that to me, it's fear. They don't trust themselves to make the right decision. And so maybe 2 years ago when you weren't ready, that might have hurt him and he's afraid of getting hurt again. I'm just speculating, but it's a possibility. So now he's afraid to go there because he's afraid of commitment, which means that he might get hurt. So this might be a trust thing. So perhaps you could talk to him about it, saying, tell me about that. What you need more time for. I just want to understand you. And by the way, honey, I really appreciate you being honest with me about needing more time. Thank you for that. So tell me about it. What is it that you need more time for? Are you able to give me a little more information? So ask him to just keep revealing more to you. And then maybe you can even bring up, do you feel that you might be having a little fear coming up? I mean, you've been together for 4 years. You should be able to have this conversation. Is some fear coming up for you? And I know that a couple years ago when you were ready and I wasn't, I can't imagine, did that affect you in some way? So you're going to have to be really, really, really vulnerable, but you have so much to gain if you are. And you can go back and say, I think I was having a lot of fear then, and that's why I wasn't ready. I didn't trust myself, but now I do. And so I'm wondering if maybe that's what you're going through. So this is just kind of a gentle conversation that you want to have with him. And I would set an appointment, because this is a big conversation. Set an appointment, make some notes, and ask him to sit down and have that conversation with you. So I hope that helped, Tess. You talked to him about it. He said he was divorced before and he doesn't want to risk it with someone who is not sure. I guess I need to tell him again and again I am. Yes, you do, but not again and again. I would sit down and tell him that you're absolutely 1000% sure that the only reason you weren't sure before is you didn't trust yourself, that didn't trust and tell him maybe it didn't even have anything to do with him, that you were in a different place emotionally and you've matured and you really trust yourself to make right decisions. And you know that he is the one for you and you want to spend the rest of your life with him. And you absolutely know that for a fact. And so I guess, yeah, you're going to have to tell him that, but I wouldn't try to convince him, because when a woman goes into convincing, it's pushing a man away. So you need to come from complete and utter resolve and belief within yourself. So you're not going into convincing. As soon as you go into convincing, he's going to back up. So you just say, sweetheart, I absolutely know. And is there something that you need me to do for you that would help you with this? Ask him to help you help him, and see if there's something that you could do that would make him feel more comfortable, because you're absolutely ready now more than ever, and you could never see your life with somebody else. So something like that. I hope that helps. Okay. Yeah, and maybe couples counseling, but sometimes, try communicating with him. I'm not saying no to that. Somebody suggested it. I think that if you put him in a corner, he might not like that. So I would just ask him to sit down and get really curious about it and see what comes up. And then on my next broadcast next week, if you can do it between now and then, we can pick up the conversation. Okay, Tess? Thank you, Erica. Yeah. I've had a lot of practice with with this kind of conversations, because I didn't have any good communication in my first marriage, and my motivation to become a great communicator was because I used to yell when I wanted to communicate something, and that really wounded me. Not only the people that I was yelling at, but I had a lot of shame around it. I was like, oh my gosh, I've yelled at so many people, my kids, my first husband is like, I had a lot of anger. So I was very, very motivated by the consequences to become a great communicator. And that's why, so I practiced, and believe me, it's made my relationship great with Michael. So ladies, take some more emotional risks to be good communicators, because so much depth and intimacy and love and understanding comes from it. So speak the unspoken, be the truth teller, right? But just set the appointment. Okay, ladies. One more question. I've been dating a man for 2 weeks. Today he asked me if I had plans for the weekend, and I said no. Then he said, "You don't have a date tomorrow?" I feel bad because he asked me that. Did you say no? Unless you want to take me out, you could, you want to get frisky with him. Why do you feel bad that he asked you that? Because you're dating. So he's feeling a little threatened, which is actually not a bad thing. So you can be like, why do you want me to have a date with you? So you need to tease him a little bit about that and see why you ask, and get a little more curious about it. Don't feel bad. Get curious, because this could be the next thing he does is ask you to be exclusive. So that actually is a really good thing. He's starting to feel a little like maybe he likes you and he wants you to stop seeing other people. So remember, never tell him anything about your dates. None of his business. Just say you're dating. That's why you met him. That's how you met him. And just say, why you ask? Because he might go, I don't want you to see anybody else. So it could be the next step to that conversation. Yeah. Okay, ladies. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel right here on YouTube and like my page on Facebook. And I have a surprise for you next week. I'm launching well, I don't want to tell you, but it's something really big. So make sure you get on my mailing list so that you'll receive the emails about it. It's not something that I do here on YouTube. So if you haven't got on my email list, you can just go to the link right here in the box, the JakiSabourin.com. You can take my soulmate assessment. You can take my swipe right quiz. You can sign up to get my articles. They're all for free. And that will put you in my database and you'll receive the notifications about the big surprise I have, an announcement for next week. Okay, ladies. Just know I'm always sending you so much love. Have a great day. Have a great date. Have a great weekend. Love you. Bye. Bye.